Welcome, dear listener, to the third episode of Horoscope's Podcasting, a podcast for gamers with POG memories. And first, apologies for the immediate absence, almost the very moment we started. I'm afraid life decided to intervene in the podcast schedule, and even now, one of us finds himself far from home in Las Vegas, which, having travelled a good couple of days by plane to get here, seems to be even further away than up north. So, the idea of this episode is first to all get to know Kieron a bit better through the lens of gaming and see what secrets will be revealed. And the one of us who isn't in Las Vegas is Kieron. Hello, Kieron.
Hello, Johnny.
Hello. Who will, in this podcast, be subject to a barrage of burning questions as we peer into Kieron's very soul, but only on the topic of gaming. I'm Johnny. And
scary.
It is scary. And hopefully legible as well, or audible.
Yeah.
I'm Johnny, and I'll be asking the questions today. Are you prepared, Kieron? Shall we get straight into it? Do you have any last words that you want to get off the chest?
Requests.
Last request.
A final meal before. I am probably underprepared.
Excellent.
And we will learn as we go.
All right. Well, the third question I like to call Desert Island Gaming, which I think is probably a brand new novel concept, but I expect it'll take off. So Kieron, it's slightly nonsensical having thought about this question, but if you had to pick one game that you'd be stranded on a desert island with, and given the fact that you would have power, a platform to run it on, a television, and the internet, and they're using none of those things to escape. What would the game be that you would have in exile?
That internet connection that you're not using social media to send help messages on.
No, none of that. Yes. That hasn't occurred to you at all.
Yes. And even if I picked a multiplayer game that has some kind of chat function in it,
would it come up?
Can't send messages going,
no,
I'm here on this desert island, come and rescue me. Or maybe I'd want to stay there. I mean, that's quite possible.
Nice
Please don't rescue me. Yes. And hopefully the IP address wouldn't reveal my location either, but that's getting a bit too technical. It probably would be Civilization. I think that one mentioned it in the past episode, but it has enormous replayability. You vary your start positions, you vary the kind of character you're playing with. You can decide whether you're going to be an attacky kind of play style, or do all through diplomacy, or just natural growth, or whatever. So you definitely need something that you can go back to day after day, assuming that there's nothing else to do in this desert island with power and internet connection and everything.
Yeah.
So I think Civ would be a great choice. You've got the whole world to play with, after all.
I think as well it could be fairly useful, because if you are stranded on a desert island and you have to rebuild civilization from scratch, at least you've got a great route, haven't you? So I need to invent the forge. How do I go and do that?
Yes.
Oh, that sound.
Yeah, it might be very useful. The Civilopedia might reveal all about how to light a fire or build a mud hut. I don't know.
Yeah, I think is it Ancient versus the Evil Dead, and in a book in the back of his car, which is all about learning how to forge metal or something, which he defeated the Deadites with. I'm trying to think what I'd have. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'd have. I might be tempted to have Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Is it a big enough world?
It's a big world. It's very replayable, and you've got these very totally impossible missions, and you can just go out and attack boats and keep building up your ship and rinse and repeats, and it's quite good fun. I kind of like it. I kind of like it.
Yeah, it should definitely be a kind of question that they pose in game reviews of,
Yeah.
if I imagine myself stuck in a desert island, how long could I play this game for? If it's 2 hours, then probably doesn't reflect well on the game.
No, or would indeed you be throwing the game followed by yourself into the sea after about 2 minutes of
Yes,
playing?
yeah. And your vital PC or other device with internet connection.
Yeah, what a waste. Well, okay.
Yes.
So, I was thinking about this next question for a while. Um, is there a game from the 80s or maybe 90s that you felt was ahead of its time? Maybe successful, maybe not, but ahead of its time.
There has to be a lot. Because there are always those games that are massively groundbreaking and sometimes, make a new genre or just blow people away with their graphics or storyline or characterization or something. Certainly the first that amazed me was Elite, going way back.
Yeah.
Because it had such a huge universe compared to all the other games that were out at the time. The way that I guess they designed and put together, say, the economy and all the different ships and things that you would encounter made it feel like it was huge and enormous. And it was probably, at the end of the day, there was just some very small database in there that could generate some numbers that seemed to make sense in terms of if you were trading the price of things in these different locations, as you were flying between planets and space stations and whatnot, and you could build up trading routes or the different ships that there were that you could fly, and the kind of little stories that really you made up in your own head about the aliens. And there's the Thargoids and that whole backstory of aliens trying to invade the galaxy. But you could make up your own little stories about what was going on and why you were trading between different space stations and all sorts. And yeah, that just seemed huge. The graphics clearly were like black and white, but you applied. It was like but the same way when you're reading a book and you create the images in your head. Playing that game was definitely one where you added colour to what was happening. I don't know, one thing I have to confess is I've got a terrible memory for these kinds of things. So I'm probably going to be not a great interviewee for the very own podcast. Yeah, I don't think I can think of any others. I think also I get into a bit of a groove, maybe a rut with the games that I play. And I'll focus on one for a long time, and stick with that. So I'm not jumping around between games massively.
Right. So where did you get to in Elite? Did you ever get to beat Elite, or did you?
No.
Where did you get to? How far did you get?
Probably the sort of middling ones. What were the middling ones? Again, my brother would get further. There was Dangerous, wasn't there? I never got as far as that. There was a level above Competent. There was Competent, and there was a level above that. And I did, when it came out, I did get Elite Dangerous on the PC.
Oh, very good.
But I never managed to get going with combat in that, because it's so much faster, and you really needed to be dealing with the three-dimensionality of the environment, and I never got my head around the controls in that. I think that's probably one that you could probably do a lot better with a VR headset, because literally I found with Elite Dangerous you needed to be looking at all kinds of things on the I don't suppose you'd call it a dashboard, but that's how I think of it, as well as looking around to find, and got lost in that one too easily in trying to do any kind of combat.
I found it initially, it was a very steep curve into massing any kind of credits to buy anything you might actually want as a ship, more so than the original game. And then as I like to do, I found a number of systems which were cheat systems. So they would have particular things that you could, like a mission you do, you get 3 million, you blow your ship up, you go back to the station, you rinse and repeat, keep doing that. So in the end, I got myself a lovely, massive Python, but it was so expensive, I then stopped playing it because I didn't want to break it. I didn't want to take it.
Too risky.
It was.
Can't afford the insurance on this.
Well, literally, the insurance is massive. And I knew if I took it out and I broke it, I'd be like, oh no. And I just stopped playing it after that.
Yeah.
And I thought,
Yes.
I think for me, though, and it's a weird one. Well, it's not weird, but I'll say why I think it's a bit weird. Doom, I thought, was groundbreaking.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
That kind of that immersive shooter. But the reason I think it's a weird one because it wasn't the first. Because Wolfenstein came out prior to that.
Before it, yeah.
But it never really took off in the mainstream. It just didn't quite have that. It wasn't quite as slick as Doom. Whereas Doom seemed to be it.
Yeah. But it's same game, but better graphics, bit slicker. I guess a bigger variety of weapons as well. Small story. Our common employer in the past for me.
Right.
When I was working at Year 2000.
Oh, yeah.
And in the office, I had to get in because we had the team I was working for was a support team, so we had to be available over the Year 2000, and we were on call for the whole 2-3 weeks.
Oh.
And working shifts. So I was in at 6 o'clock in the morning on January the 1st, Year 2000.
Oh.
And there wasn't a great deal going on because Year 2000 bug was a real thing, people. Companies around the world were really well prepared for it because us in the big enterprise software world really worked closely with our customers to make sure they were prepared and ready. So very little happened on the queues, on the problem queues that day. And it was very, very quiet. So I ended up playing Quake on the corporate network. Not a thing you would be able to do these days at all. You wouldn't be able to install the game, never mind get it running on the network. But that was because there was nothing to do, because nobody else was obviously running their software and stuff, and everything was fine. I was probably terrible at it, but anyway, running Quake at work was a thing.
Quake, I remember those days. I agree, Elite, definitely Doom for sure. So moving on from that, your third question is, guess your first split-screen multiplayer experience could be Paul, because it's mainly everyone's. What was your first online multiplayer game that you played?
I wonder if it was that Quake session, Year 2000.
Yeah.
It was probably something before that, but of course, those were the days of, proper online, where it's not like a LAN party or somebody local. Definitely wasn't taking off till later than that. The answer to that is Combat Mission, which is it's a strategy game, a squad level strategy game, but it's turn based.
Oh.
So you would like issue the instructions to all of your tanks and artillery and infantry platoons and whatnot, and then the computer would normally, if you're playing against a computer, do the same thing, and then it plays the actions and decides whether one unit sees another unit and they shoot or not shoot, and then you get to watch that and rinse and repeat again and again. And it had Combat Mission itself, I think, was a D-Day based set of scenarios and campaign. There were later ones that were based in North Africa and another one that was like the Russian campaign. And there was an online version of that where you would, bit like that, it was a play-by-email thing. So you would record the choices, your commands, and then save that file, send it to your opponent, who would enter their set of instructions, and then depending on who was receiving it, they could then play it, see what happened, enter their commands, send it to you, you would watch it, enter your commands, and then you would just back and forth that. So it was online, you were playing people, and depending on how quickly people were replying, because sometimes, you were sat there, you would do it, you would email it, they would get it, they would send it back to you quite quickly. Actually, maybe it was handled through the game, so that, it just had a thing telling you, oh, you've received your file, hit play now. And that was fun, because that was, I think, the first time I was playing like one of these tactical battle simulation things where it wasn't the computer, where normally when you play these games, the computer becomes a bit predictable and you can sort of work out what they're going to do in situations. And instead, this is, dealing with the randomness of people, along with the randomness of yourself.
And that was called Combat Mission, was it?
Combat Mission.
Yes. I'll look out for that. I've never come across it. I've never come across it. I think the one thing that was actually quite recent, say recent, last 10 years, so not that recent, but it sounds a little bit familiar. There's a game called Guns Up, which is a game that you play. It's multiplayer but asynchronous. So effectively,
right?
Yeah, you'll get you'll be either the attacker or the defender. If you're the defender, you'll have a base and defenses that you've pre-populated against attackers, and then your attacker will then form a plan and basically deploy the plan of how that attack will go. But you see it all happening in real time, which is really, really good. So I played that for ages. I just loved it. Absolutely loved it. And then I found a mutual colleague who had a base on that, and I thought, I know what I need to do here. So every week, without fail, I would flatten his base. I keep going back, and I would just destroy it. And then he revealed to me, I met him at work, and Guns Up, and he went, yeah, could you stop that? It's not mine, it's my 8-year-old son's. He's getting really upset. I was like, oh, God. I didn't
realise, sorry.
I'm sorry. And so I just kind of stopped playing it after that. I just couldn't handle the guilt and the shame. Go on.
You were very example of being catfished.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
A colleague's son.
I know, it's not awful. I felt so bad. I thought, oh no, you think he's really trying to get him into gaming, foster the interest, and then I come along and every week just flatten everything he does, and then he starts again. So yeah, I felt pretty bad about the whole thing.
I've learned about the futility of life early on.
Well, yeah, it's a lesson we all have to learn hearing that. Maybe I did him a favour, I guess. I think my first proper one, maybe I would say actually Doom, I think, is my first proper multiplayer game, I think. Really. So I'll go back to. The most surprising one for me, though, I think, was Counter-Strike. Is it Counter-Strike? Is that right? The quite very tactical first-person game. And I remember getting it and installing it on my Xbox and thinking, oh yeah, it's just going to be one of those shooters you run around and going bam, 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 bam. And then having several parts of my anatomy handed to me every time I tried to do that, lasted for about 10 seconds. But I do remember, though, like in the lobby beforehand, people would literally be synchronizing their watches and saying, okay, at 12 seconds past, you do this, 15 seconds past, you do that, 20 seconds past, you do that. And I found that all really compelling. I wasn't very good at it, but I found it all compelling. All right, so on to the next. Okay, so do you still play multiplayer games now? And if so, what is it? What do you play?
There was quite a while, up until fairly recently, that I was playing quite a bit of Magic the Gathering online. So for those not familiar with Magic the Gathering, I don't know if you know of it, John.
I've heard of it.
It is a trading card game. there's a digital version of it these days called Magic the Gathering Arena, where rather than if you're playing it physically, because you can go down to a game shop and buy packs of cards. The idea is that you're buying packs of cards. I think you get 15 of them in a packet, and you're hoping to get really good, powerful, strong cards. And it's quite a complex game with some really simple mechanics that they mix up every 3-4 months with new set releases that have got new mechanics. And the basic idea is you're a planeswalker, and your cards represent creatures, and there's a source of mana that helps you cast spells to play more creatures or cast spells against either your opponent's creatures or your opponent themselves, and you both start with so much life and you have to get your opponent down to 0 using the cards. And they have various different editions of it, and this game came out in the mid-90s, and they've been adding hundreds of new cards every year, and they run a format of it called Standard, which is these days the cards that were introduced over the past 3 years. So at any one time it's something like 1,500, 1,800 cards that are in the pool that you could be building decks out of, and you build a deck of, in Standard, 60 cards, and have a hand of up to 7 at once. There's a lot going on in that. It's a fiendishly complex game. I mean, there are proper international tournaments of it. And yeah, so I played that online. Again, middling kind of ability. Because it's one-on-one, it is indeed zero-sum game.
Right.
Because there are no draws. You can only win or lose. So a 50-50 win-loss is, what the entire player pool comes out to. I think I was ever so slightly underneath 50%, but it depended on the format I was playing. But that was, all kinds of different ways of playing that one. Really fiendishly complex game. Sometimes you have to be thinking ahead. You have to be thinking quite quickly because you've only got maybe up to a couple of minutes to take your turn, and that will reduce over time. So played that a lot online over the past few years. Not playing it at the moment because it is a little bit addictive in terms of that card collecting, and it's a free to play game, the arena version of it. So it has the grind that a lot of people begin to object to with these kinds of games of you've got to log in every day, play so many games, achieve some goals to get gold in order to get the card packets and so on. So it can drive some slightly unhealthy behaviour.
No, I get you. Have you done? I was just thinking one of the interesting things about that is it gives you the opportunity to play people in real life, if that makes sense, physically as well as playing in digitally.
Yeah.
Is that something that happens, or do people kind of like end up in one camp or the other?
No, there are definitely people that will be doing both. The pros definitely are doing both. They will be. I mean, apparently the pros have little teams where they're practicing, they're building their decks, they're practicing together, they're working out different strategies when they're playing a different kind of deck with their own one and all this kind of stuff. So they brew and they practice and they experiment. So there's quite a big industry around that. There's quite a big professional playing scene. I mean, there's a whole ton of tournaments that are organised by local game stores, and bigger than that, regionals, where you get hundreds of people going to some hotel convention place and playing all against each other and getting prizes at the end of it. So there's a bit of both, but still a lot of physical stuff, although I mean obviously during the pandemic all of that stopped, so the online version of it became quite a big conduit for people that were really into it.
There's a game I used to play until I stopped playing actually, Star Trek Adversaries, and that seemed quite similar in that you had various ships, and you got various cards, and you needed to apply cards to ships for defense or attack, and you could then go, I'm going to attack you with this. And I kind of like that. I must
Yes.
admit. I have to say, I do wonder if, you know, there's an argument to, not an argument, there may potentially be the possibility of introducing augmented reality into the physical card game. So you'd have like that scene where, from Star Wars Episode 4, of the two kind of beasts on the table grappling each other and then, ripping an arm off or something. If you played a card
Yeah.
against them, you could have. I'd love that. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, the arena game did have some special effects. There was a kind of similar game called Hearthstone, which is a derivative of World of Warcraft, where Blizzard built their Magic equivalent. But because that was only ever digital only, it had far more in the way of animations and that kind of pizzazz on top of the actual cards, and a more simple mechanic around your resources. But yeah, no, it's cool when you take those real physical games and G them up, reimagine them slightly differently, but obviously with the same core. When you turn them into into a digital game. What about you? You're a big multiplayer gamer, aren't you?
Yeah, I've been going back a lot to Battlefront 2, a lot. I really like that game. My daughters like it as well. That's we both play together, which is really nice. I kind of quite like it. Although rather than play competitively, we sort of share a game. So if we play, a multiplayer, if one person dies, then I'll get the controller, and then we swap back and forth, and that's quite good fun.
Yeah.
So I enjoy doing that an awful lot. I've been playing a fair amount of that. Been looking at something else though, um, more recently that's multiplayer, but not really found it. Nothing's really stuck at the moment. I think Battlefield 2 is a bit too comfortable, a bit too quick. Go back, have a quick game, and jump in, jump out. And
Yeah.
that's probably a big thing as well. Is the time. It's hard to do a big crusade type epic campaign, and when you've got like 15 minutes spare, on a Sunday morning at 3 a.m. or something. It's difficult.
Well, that is the problem with trying to balance work life with this particular hobby. That's the kind of thing that, come retirement, you imagine this is something you're going to do. Well, okay, I can spend a morning in that if I want, or a day, or schedule time with buddies who are also retired to go and play through a campaign or something together.
Yeah, I guess, would you still like it though if somebody wasn't there telling you off and saying, "Oh, you should be doing this," or "You've got to do something else," or "You've got other things that you need
Time's
to be
up
doing"?
now.
Yeah, time's up now. Does it take away the appeal somewhat? I do wonder about that sometimes, like my mentality of these sorts of things.
And that's something that we'll definitely look to explore on the podcast with all kinds of different people. Is it our game's a bit of escapism?
Yeah.
And if you don't feel you've got something to escape from, then will it have the same appeal, or will it get a bit? How quickly does it get dull? I imagine it's going to be different for different people.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you're saying. Well, actually, I've gone on a lot on this question, so let me bring it back to. I think we're only on was it number 5?
Yeah.
Questions. Were you somebody who played in arcades? Were you an arcade game lad? To see you on a Saturday morning, popping your 10p's into Space Invaders. You weren't there, no?
No. You see, nope, that wasn't me. I didn't have enough pocket money. My pocket money was 20 pence a week.
Hey, well, back in 1872.
And at the right time of year, that would be going on the football stickers.
Yeah.
Or maybe a dandy. No, not a dandy. Well, I suppose a long time before. Sometimes the eagle. Yeah.
Oh, the eagle. Yeah. The eagle.
Getting the fix of Dan
Yeah,
Dare.
very good. Yeah, bit of Dan Dare. What was I must admit, I didn't go into them much either. I actually started going to them more, really, when I started work. Because there was one in Southsea where I used to live. And so around the corner, me and the guy that I shared a house with, we'd go down in on a Saturday morning, have a breakfast, and then go and play Sega Rally. Um,
Yep.
which, yeah, in fact, we got kicked out because it was a
Yeah.
two-player one. We sat in two chairs, and all we do is we just swear at each other continuously very loud
Put
for
your
about
quid
20
down.
minutes.
Keep going.
Yeah, and then they say, "Could you stop doing that?" Because there are children here. So,
I think that the earliest experience of arcades was we would go swimming on a Sunday morning, and the sports centre had, a defender or something like that upstairs outside the little cafeteria, and then sometimes we'd get a couple of goes on that.
yeah, magical times. I bet they all look like you're peering into another world. So,
Yeah,
what surprised you most about the evolution of gaming over the past 40 years or so?
it is that. I mean, it's the growth of imagination. There is so much variety and different ideas that people have come up with. I mean, yeah, every so often, or you get a particular series or genre that just tunnels, and you start thinking, well, that's all just derivative. But every so often, as we were saying earlier, something completely new comes along and stirs the pot completely, and you start getting new ideas based out of that. I mean, it's exciting to see because it is real imagination on a technological level. I mean, the tech that's in there is, I mean, it's stunning what is being calculated on your little computer to draw those things on the screen at 60, 120 frames a second. And bear in mind that 120 frames a second mean that everything on that frame has to be drawn in 120th of a second. That's very fast. And there's an awful lot of calculations going on there to make sure that you are, whether you're in contact with things or blowing things up or whatever it is. And that probably has driven, I mean, in itself, an immense amount of technology. I guess the weirdest thing is one of the things right now that gaming created and drove was video cards. And what is the main driver of video cards now? Building large language models.
Right.
And you would never have thought, back when you were picking the right VGA card in the mid-90s for your PC or whatever, that 25, 30 years later, a weird world of generating words would be the same technology that, your 640 by 480 VGA card was. So yeah, amazing side effects of people casually wanting to see the best graphics on the screen. What do you think?
Well, when you said that, actually, a gentleman who's a hero of mine, a chap called James Burke, and he's a technology historian, and he did an amazing series in the 80s, recommended to anyone, called Connections, where he would do something like, he would get, oh, do you see this glass? Yes, this glass led to the rise of the Roman Empire, and he would show all the connections. And I think part of it was kind of like infotainment, but it was really, 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 really interesting. But he made this comment about electronic typewriters, and it was about the impact that it had on Western society in terms of giving a profession to women, which was their profession, and what the impact that would have. And he said that none of this was ever foreseen by the guy who just wanted to try and get those things, not those tip-tap things, not all jamming up, which was the main reason to do it in the first place. And he ended up having a significant impact on Western society as a whole. And I think there are amazing questions to be had. I think James Burke's still at it, actually, not with Connections, but he does something else now. He does a website for connections of technology, which you keep meaning to have a look at. I think what surprised me, I think I was completely wrong about, was I assumed the model of arcade games would continue in
Yeah,
that you had lots of people going there, pouring cash into arcade games all the time. It was a very quick return on the investment. I would thought that would really drive innovation. That would drive new graphics. That would drive new ways of interacting, new ways of play. And what other people had at home would be sort of second best, a bit like a movie theatre and your telly at home, that kind of
yeah,
model. But it
yeah,
turned out to be
yeah,
completely the opposite in that the arcade seemed to disappear. And what you had at home was infinitely superior. And I guess also as well, convenient because I could have a game with somebody when I
yeah,
wanted to rather than drag them down at 10 p.m. break into the arcade, have a game of Sega Rally, which I guess you can't
yes,
do.
yeah, and just faster moving, quicker to iterate because didn't require an arcade box to be delivered to however many thousands of arcades around the
That
world.
is true. That is true.
Yeah.
So, where do you think gaming is going to go in the next 30 years?
It's a long
It's,
way.
it's a big question for a few minutes, isn't it?
It is. The obvious answer is something to do with AI and the fact that that does offer what people have been trying to do with a lot of games over the years, which is build some kind of alternate
Mm.
world. And the limitation of that has been a combination of the amount of graphics that you can pre-build. And a few years ago, they started coming up with procedurally generated graphics so that people could write code, but you still need to create all of the bitmaps and textures and things that get pulled together for that. Now we have both the ability to create text on the
Yeah.
fly using large language models, and there are other generative AI routines to create uh, graphics as well. You expect that both in terms of creating more believable characters and more believable conversation, which is how we communicate and everything, that is what is going to create a far more realistic set of game environments. The question probably then flips around. Right now the constraint in the game is how much the developers can squeeze into, these days, a 40, 50 gigabyte download, uh, and how much code or set of rules they can create to define a procedurally generated world. It's going to be the other way around of, well, this is a, a data science model that we've trained to do something. How do we constrain it? How do we stop it doing things that we don't expect? Both of us know writing software often results in unexpected results, especially when you give it to the hands of customers, because they go and do things with it that you didn't understand or expect. Wow, games are even bigger. They have even less constraints. There's so much that a player can do with the environment that they're in that the developers didn't imagine. So that combination, it could be mind blowing. It could be disastrous. Who knows? But I reckon, that's the obvious next, and the power of AI and how we run it and govern it, and all sorts of stuff around ethics and big questions around alignment and whatnot. But we're not doing that podcast. That is very difficult to predict, but that's definitely the next step. And after that, who knows? The whole world of holodecks and
Mm.
everything that Star Trek dreamt up, definitely that kind of stuff's gonna happen. Um, and creating those worlds, you can imagine that being done with this generative AI stuff. So yeah, yeah, it's we're probably quite close to that.
Yes, that's a fair point. I kind of wonder if there's going to be another convergence of technologies, a bit like how the mobile smartphone culture has kind of kicked off into a whole new set of industries.
Mm,
Um, if we could have something similar, which may be around like augmented reality. So, rather than everybody going out and doing lots of big signs and motorways for every 100 yards, everyone has a pair of specs or contact lenses that they use, and then it's projected on, saves an awful lot of time and money, and then it opens the doors to, well, what interesting gaming experiences can you now have, seeing as everywhere you look is effectively a holiday. And now what does that mean?
Yeah, I'm not sure about gaming while driving. That sounds a bit risky.
No. Well, maybe no. You're right. You're quite right. No.
Well, in your self-driving car,
yes,
you could be.
But actually, when I was sort of stuttering away, I do remember when my job I was driving a lot, and we'd be driving up the M1 and go, oh, need a break, just nip into that service station, and the first thing I do is go into the arcade room and put 50p into some kind of racing game and start driving that around for 20 minutes and then leave and carry on.
Well, that combination in your self-driving car of, imagine, you've got your rocket launcher in there and if you're in your self-driving car, you're not going to get cut up anymore or annoyed by somebody shooting past you on the outside lane of the motorway, because you won't be able to do that anymore because your car will be doing that. But maybe you'll be like,
well, you can buy an overlay for your steering with buttons on that'll do like a pew 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 noise,
little sound effects.
It's the first step, I think. All right, so a slightly different question. I've been getting into a lot of kind of entertainment around gaming content, and I was wondering, Kieron, is any content, YouTube videos, podcasts, any content at all around gaming that you enjoy that you would recommend? Apart from this, obviously, which is obviously the creme de la creme.
Apart from this, definitely this podcast, because it's got big life questions as well as stuff about games. I mean, the first time I got into watching stuff about games alongside gaming was playing Magic the Gathering, because there are quite a lot of YouTubers, and they tend to fill particular niches and play styles around Magic. Partly, presumably, because that's an environment, a community that's existed since before the internet started, so it ballooned. YouTubers like a guy called Covert Go Blue. I've followed them and watched them a great deal. Right now, the game that I'm playing, Crusader Kings 3. There is a YouTuber called Lionheart X10 that I watch his videos, and it's an interesting idea. If you say to somebody, I'm watching a video of somebody playing a game, they're like, what? Why are you doing that? That's weird. And of course the world of Twitch is designed for that you can go and watch people live streaming, playing games. But at the same time, the counter argument is, well, people watch sport, which is people playing games. Maybe for bigger money or bigger stakes or whatever, but it is exactly the same idea. People competing sometimes against other people, sometimes against the computer, and that is entertainment itself. We all go we don't all go and play football, but lots have gone and played football or tennis or rugby, whatever. And that's you taking part in it. And then sometimes you sit and watch other people who are better than you doing the same thing. And you learn from them. And it's entertaining. Because there's always a story there. In the same way that any game of sport, there's a story of person versus person or team versus team and the dynamics across. It is the same in a game as well. And how people's emotions and whatever else take over. Or the stories that people can spin while they're playing a game, maybe about their opponent that they have no idea who that is, or about the game state and what's happening as well. So multiple strands could be going on there.
Well, it's a fair point. I take what you mean about why would you watch somebody play, but you're quite right. I mean, I watch people play snooker because I've played snooker and I'm very bad at it, and so I know how difficult those shots are. and so you can appreciate the level of skill
You can
involved.
appreciate it.
And I
Yeah.
think that's a fair point. Next time, as a taster on Horoscope's Podcasting, a podcast for games and Pong memories, we're going to mercilessly interrogate me. So I'm already looking forward to Kieron's cruel and unusual questions. And if I don't make it back from Las Vegas, I want it to be known it was Kieron. Thank you very much.
You're too ashamed to get on the plane and come back.
I have a new life here, hiding out somewhere in the car park.
In Las Vegas. Well, maybe that will be my first question when I'm interviewing you. Well, what will your alter ego in Las Vegas be?
I'm not sure. I've seen some. I've not been here very long, and I've already seen some quite disturbing things. I must admit. Yeah. I tell you what, it's a place of definite poles. It's one or the other. It's quite something. Well, folks.
Well, imagine. But yeah, thanks for the questions.
Thank you for answering them. Take care, everyone. All the very best.
It's been a pleasure. Cheers. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.